Welcome to The Quiet Ambition Issue 7, The Identity Debt, by Caroline Harrison. The self that built your success may be capping your next chapter. The Quiet Story. Every version of you that got you here took out a loan, the version who worked 80-hour weeks to make partner. The version who never said no, never asked for help, never let anyone see the cracks. You built something real, got the title, the flat, the reputation. But every identity has a repayment schedule, and most people don't notice they're in debt until the interest comes due, in the form of a success that feels strangely hollow, or a next step that should feel exciting and instead feels like drowning. Consider the athlete who spends a decade being defined by performance at the highest level, and then has to publicly step back from it. Simone Biles' decision to withdraw from events at the Tokyo Olympics to protect her mental health forced a very public reckoning with an identity built entirely around flawless execution. She has spoken since about needing to separate her sense of self-worth from her performance, something the identity she'd built as the greatest of all time had never required her to do. The debt wasn't financial, it was identity-shaped, and it came due the moment perfection stopped being sustainable. The insight: most high-achieving people don't fear failure. They fear becoming unrecognizable to themselves, even when the change is upward. We talk endlessly about limiting beliefs, but rarely about limiting identities. A belief is something you think, an identity is something you defend. You will abandon a belief the moment better evidence arrives. You will defend an identity to the point of self-sabotage, because giving it up doesn't feel like updating your thinking. It feels like killing off a version of yourself that worked hard to survive. The identity that got you to senior associate will not, without renegotiation, get you to partner. The identity that made you indispensable as the does-everything founder will not let you build a team you can actually delegate to. Not because that identity failed, because it succeeded, and successful systems are the hardest ones to leave, precisely because they proved they work. The quiet choice. You can keep servicing the debt, showing up as the self that built the last chapter, working harder inside an identity that's already done its job, or you can write it off and consciously build the self your next chapter actually requires. Servicing the debt feels safer. It requires no confrontation, no discomfort, no risk of not recognizing yourself in 6 months. Writing it off feels like loss before it feels like anything else. But one of these paths leads to a bigger version of the life you already have. The other leads to a bigger version of the identity you're ready to outgrow. The quiet rebellion. The rebellion here isn't loud. It's not a dramatic reinvention or a public pivot. It's quieter and harder than that. It's giving yourself permission to stop being who you had to be before you've fully proven who you're becoming. It's saying no to the project that only the old identity would say yes to. It's letting someone else be the reliable one for a week. It's sitting with the discomfort of being asked, "So what do you do now?" and not having the old, tidy, impressive answer ready, because the new answer isn't finished yet, and that's allowed. The quiet beginning. Every identity shift starts before it's visible. It starts in a single decision that has nothing to do with a resignation letter or a rebrand. The decision to notice which version of you is currently making your choices, and to ask whether she's still the right one for the job. That noticing is the beginning, not a 5-year plan. The quiet ambition exercise. Take 10 quiet minutes with these, ideally with a notebook rather than a screen. 1. Name the identity that built your current success. Give her a specific description, not hard-working, but the actual shape of her. What she proves, what she fears, what she never allows herself to do. 2. List 3 decisions from the last month that she made on your behalf. Were they the right calls for who you are now, or the right calls for who you were when she was first built? 3. Ask what she's afraid will happen if she steps back. Be honest. Most identity debt is protected by a fear that's rarely spoken aloud. 4. Write 1 sentence describing the identity your next chapter requires. Not a job title. A way of operating. 5. Choose 1 small act this week that belongs to the new identity, not the old one. Small is correct. The point isn't drama. It's evidence. The quiet mantra: I do not owe my next chapter to the self who built my last one. Read more on the Quiet Reflection in the weekly newsletter, link below. Until next, issue number 8, The Confidence Myth.